I'm in communication with a French lady by the name of Isabel. We were talking about Frybread. I'm explaining some things concerning Indians of today as opposed to ancient Indians, because we're not the same. And we've gone through experiences since the late 1800s that have drastically altered our thinking. So we don't think like our ancestors anymore. Even when we try to return to ceremonial way of life, it's still not done through the ancestral perspective. We're using the modern perspective, and that's not a good idea. I was talking about how in the beginning of the reservation time that it was like a prison camp and you couldn't leave. We were not allowed to have weapons, so we couldn't hunt for the foods that our bodies are used to, which is wild game, things like that. And so the government gave us these food rations. What would happen is every community, every reservation has something called it. Well, they called it an agency back then. And so there was a main town that had the main office and stuff. And in those days, we didn't speak English yet. So Washington, D.C. sent people out to every reservation to run the business affairs of the reservation. The leader of that was called the Indian agent. So every reservation had an Indian agent. And he, like I said, he oversaw the business affairs of the reservation. And so they made a town there, and then they called it the agency. So a lot of places, you hear communities still have that name, Old Agency, they'll say, or something agency, Cheyenne River Agency, or something like that. Agency Village. In these different reservations, they have names like that. That's a remnant. That's where the main body of government used to be. So that's where they would distribute the rations. So they gave you a ration card, and you had to keep that. And so when it was ration time, you stood in line with your family, and it's a big, long line of people. They would give you food according to your family size. And this food was really not healthy stuff. Yeah, the dried goods, canned goods, powdered goods, and dried goods, and a big slab of pork and a bunch of lard. For those of you in Europe, lard is animal fat that's solidified, kind of thing. Looks like a big, soft white chunk of something. You throw that on the frying pan and it melts, and that's what you cook your food in. It's just really unhealthy. And so as a result, we developed illnesses, high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart diseases. Indians started to die from these diseases. Like I said, they weren't allowed to hunt or anything, so they had to eat whatever they were given. And so some of the women started to get creative. And some tribes are agricultural to begin with. So they made bread from corn. They have their own recipes, and that's how they made bread. So some Indian tribes, they have these ovens, big stone ovens, and they made their bread like that. And so they had experience with that. So when they got the flour and stuff from the food rations, they started experimenting. And they came up with basically the same thing all over North America. They basically came up with the same idea, and that idea was Frybread. So in the 1920s or so, we were finally allowed to leave the reservations. And so when we're traveling around, visiting relatives and stuff, ladies are comparing recipes and they say, "Hey, that's pretty good. Maybe you should put sugar in and whatever." And and everybody has their secret family recipe to this day. We were talking about that. And Isabel said something that never came to my mind. She said, so the fry bread is like a representation of survival. That we took what we had and made something delicious out of it. And it didn't matter if it was bad for you, health-wise, because everything that we were given was bad for us. So no matter what you made from those food rations, it didn't matter what you made from it. It was all unhealthy. So it's a symbol of survival. I never thought of that. There should be like a Native American flag, and the symbol will be Frybread. It sounds funny, but when you think about it, it makes sense. Yeah, because it's a symbol of difficult time for Indian people, oppression, but we still made something good out of it. Something that tasted good, something that smelled good. Because see, you have to remember that during that time, it was also against the law to speak your Indian language and do your ceremonies in public. So seriously, yeah, we were hit physically with the bad foods, and we were hit emotionally by not being able to speak our language in public, and we were hit spiritually by not being allowed to do our ceremonies. That's 3 of the 4 parts of the self. The self is consisted of the body, the physical body, the mind, the soul, and the emotional self. And see, we were hit in 3 of those areas. The emotional self took a hit, the soul took a hit, and the physical body took a hit during that time, severely. So as a result, our minds became weak. We really, really were in a bad shape during that time. And so fry bread was a chance to eat something that made you feel good. You were not allowed to speak your language in public. You were not allowed to perform your ceremonies. And all the food you had was unhealthy, but you found a way to make something good that even when it was cooking, it smelled good. When people smell it, they all come, yeah, anticipating, yeah, the fry bread. And then when they eat it, it really tastes good. So imagine, if you will, that your language is illegal. Your spirituality is considered evil and from the devil. So at least we can design something that'll taste good, that'll take us away from this misery for a little while. That for a little while we can forget that we're oppressed, that we can't speak our language, we can't do our ceremonies. It's basically illegal to be an Indian. So let's eat something that tastes good, that'll make us feel good. So fry bread is our sacrament. Shit, I like that. Yeah, I really, really like that. I never thought of it like that. I really like the way this lady, Isabel, thinks.
To read more about Lakota Star Knowledge spirituality, you can read my book called Wichocha Otechike. You can see the book cover on the right side of this screen. This book contains the information to what I talk about on my Lakota spirituality videos. To purchase this book, please click below where it says Show More. Clicking on that link will open up the description below, and there you will see a link called To Purchase My Books. As you will see, it's an eBay link. Click on that eBay link, and there you will see the information to get this book. Lila Pila Mayelo. Thank you very much.